Welcome to episode number 6 of the Introvert Biz Growth podcast, the show where I talk to introverts who grow their business and make a difference. I'm Saracen Croce, and I'm thrilled that you're spending this time with me today. Today I'm talking to Kat Rose. Kat has reached out to me last year about publishing a guest blog on my LinkedIn business website. She wrote a wonderful post about upping her game on LinkedIn. And then in May, while talking to my friend Ashley Falks, her name came up again. Ashley told me that she had just recently launched a business also related to introverts. So I just had to talk to her. Long story short, she's here with me today. After trying and failing to get discovered online as an illustrator, Kat educated herself on marketing and social media. She also used what she learned about design and branding from her years at a design agency, and finally things started to click. Now her mission is to share this discovery with other creatives who don't find marketing comes naturally to them and who shy away from the business end of things. Hi Kat, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks, Sarah.
Very good. We just discussed in the offline that you're based in London and I'm based in Switzerland, and we kind of, sometimes it's sunny here and sometimes it's sunny in London. We seem to be exchanging weather every now and then.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Well, Kat, other than the bio, the official bio that I just read, would you tell us a little bit about yourself and maybe something that my introverted audience can relate to?
Yeah, well, I spend most of my time, whenever I can, I'm basically creating. So that's content for my blog. Basically, at the moment, I'm working on a 4-week intensive program for creatives, and as well as coaching clients. And if I'm not doing that, then I dabble in a bit of yoga, and when I can fit it in, I draw things.
Nice. You draw things. What do you draw?
Well, I've always just liked to draw kind of bizarre, quirky animals. That's been my forte since I was probably a very small child.
Excellent. Okay. And maybe you can tell us also a little bit about your new adventure or venture, the website that you just launched.
Yeah, so kind of relaunched. It's been a bit of a journey, but at the moment it's sort of solidifying a bit more. So that's the creativeintrovert.com. And it's basically, I'm offering a membership site, and that's called the League of Creative Introverts. But as well as that, I'm also offering coaching and that's basically the one-to-one stuff. And then I'm still doing design work, and I've got a passive income from t-shirt sales. So it's definitely a mixture of things, but
Interesting. Yeah, that's what we were actually discussing before we started the recording, is because I like that idea so much about that book club and how do you call it again? The LCI, I think.
The League of Creative Introverts.
Yeah,
I think I was struggling for a while to think what's a kind of a word that isn't group but sounds fun, and I really love the leagues of things. So we have a monthly book club, and we basically read the book, discuss it as you would, but it's all done virtually, which definitely suits my introverted community and myself.
Yeah, but you mentioned it was on a Hangout, so you have to show up on camera, or is it just voice?
Yeah, I mean, you can turn your camera off, but I like to. I'm sort of like less distracted if I can see someone. I tend to, So some of us like to do that.
Okay, I guess once you get to know the people in the club, even introverts are okay with video. Excellent. Yeah, I'll definitely put the link in the show notes to this book club because I find it very interesting, and I'll be joining as of tomorrow. Excellent. So you already told us a little bit about how you're generating revenue. So you mentioned one-on-one services, the membership site, and then t-shirts. Tell us a bit more about the t-shirts.
That's been something that I've been doing since I was in college, really. Just like I said, I draw animals. That's just been a hobby, and just putting them on t-shirts, putting them up online. There are so many opportunities for creative people just to set up their own thing. And that's just been a constant thing. And I haven't really wanted to, drop that altogether. But I'm starting to realize now that having those backup income streams, even if they're not very much, is just a good thing to have. I've learned a lot from that.
Yeah, and I assume it's work that you love very much. So
exactly
brings us back to loving what we do, and so it's great if you can generate income by loving what you do, by doing what you love. Sorry. Yeah. Wonderful. Okay, let's switch gears and talk a little bit about your introverted superpowers, as I like to call them. Yeah. What would you say that is your biggest strength as an introvert?
So I would say that being a very analytical, I think this is true for most introverts. We can be very, we are inward looking and self-analytical. And that's been great because it's allowed me to do a lot of internal work on myself and get over certain things, and also work with others, like having empathy for others. I think it's a big strength for many introverts.
It's true. Yeah, we discovered that on other interviews before, and I think I put it on my website as well. Empathy is a big one because it helps you understand basically your client, because you kind of put yourself in their shoes and you really feel for them.
Right, and it's kind of something that I grew up with, and I didn't think that anyone could lack it. But then when you get older, you're like, oh, this is something that maybe some people are better at than others.
It's true, yeah. I think so as well. You just notice when there's people have a lot of empathy, or they're kind of oblivious sometimes to certain things. Yeah, excellent. What about your challenges as an introverted entrepreneur?
So I would turn that around and say that being self-critical and self-analytical is also a massive disadvantage at times. Like when it comes to making decisions, I've been told that I think over things too much, and that could be a problem sometimes, I will admit. And I think just second guessing myself, it's not always the most useful thing when you want to be a bullshit entrepreneur. But I don't know, having a balance between those things is kind of key.
Yeah, tell us a little bit more, because I saw that you're reading Rising Strong from Brene Brown right now in the book club, and that has to do with that subject, right?
Oh my gosh, yes. I just finished that up the other day, and I don't know, the stories Brene tells are really amazing, and it's kind of validating all of these scary things that I'm doing. I'm really obsessed with the idea of fear and facing our fears at the moment. And yeah, the way she talks about being face down in the arena and getting up again, I think it's been really helpful for me to read about that.
Mm-hmm. And to overcome this fear and own your story and get back up, and I think what's great about her book also is to realize that a lot of these stories, you're making them up in your head, right? So she has this technique where she says the story I'm making up is ... And so as introverts, we tend to do that probably much more than other people, extroverts, because we're always in our head, and so we're like, this person is probably thinking this, or this is what is going on, where really it isn't.
I love that you made that connection. I think it hadn't really occurred to me, but I'm very interested in these stories that we're telling, and I never saw myself as much of a storyteller, but I realise that that's what we're doing constantly.
We tell our own stories.
Right, yeah. and they can be rewritten, and I think having that power to do so is huge. It's a big help.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, we definitely recommend Rising Strong if anybody didn't get that point yet. So go ahead and read that. Okay, take us to the moment in time of an incredible aha, where that you've experienced, and tell us the story.
Well, I go to these meetups with other illustrators because obviously that is still a big part of my life. And And I think it was some point last year when I'd started to delve into my own introversion, and it was just a friend who had told me, like, you realize that introversion means this, and it's about energy and not about being shy. And I was like, oh, that's what I am. That's the thing. And at the same time, I'd been talking to these other creatives and illustrators in particular. And, you know, we would kind of complain about what we were doing. And I would get a bit excited on behalf of other people because their work was so brilliant. And I was wondering, you know, why aren't they doing what they love? Why aren't they putting out their stuff online and setting up their own online shops and doing all these things that can be done? And it started to occur to me that it's not that they didn't have the tools and the resources and, you know, they didn't know about what they could do with social media and stuff. It was a mindset thing. And I started drawing this connection between introverts and creatives. And I started reading, his name is Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. He wrote this book called Flow, and he also wrote one called Creativity. And I think actually Susan Cain in Quiet mentions his work. And all of these connections started forming. And I've got this theory that the majority of creatives are introverts, as opposed to the population as a whole, which is on the whole more so extroverts. I think, what is it, like a 3-to-1-ish ratio? But I think it's flipped round with the creative community. And yeah, I started putting all these things together, and I was like, I need to start telling people about the things that I've learned about introversion and how it doesn't have to be this block to us showing our work online. That was
it's interesting. It's basically, you realize that there's such a big loss in terms of, you know, showing off all this creativity because the majority of creatives are introverts, and so there's all this creative potential that nobody ever gets to see because many creatives are introverts. Interesting.
And that's my theory that I haven't lost. It's just and it's the driving force behind what I'm doing. If I can kind of change the story on that. Like
kind of encourage or accompany these creatives and you know, coach them in a way that they realize that, you know, they're creating this beautiful art, whatever it is, but if nobody sees it, then, you know, that's it's definitely a loss to humanity. Cool, very good. I like that a lot because it's true that I was attending a workshop also licensed by Brene Brown. So a friend of mine in the region was leading it, and it had to do with what's it called again? The imperfection one. Can't remember the title. I'll put it in the show notes. And so anyway, one of the big projects of this workshop was also creativity. And in there, it was kind of like more showing us again how important creativity is, because she shows also, you know, how many of us lost our touch to creativity or lost our connection to creativity in school already, because there was many moments of shame related to creativity where, you know, people mock you, laugh at you, at your drawing or whatever. Yes. So I think, you know, a big part of Brené's work is also to bring back creativity into our lives. So I think there's definitely a connection between introverts, creativity, and showing up and be seen and everything. So
yes,
wonderful.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. All right, let's talk about some 3 golden nuggets. These are resources that I mention on every show that you think that contributed to your success. So the first one would be a personal habit. What do you do on a regular basis?
I do. I have so many. I'm like a habit fiend. My list is so long. But one thing that I've been doing quite recently, which I've seen huge benefits from, is writing morning pages. So this started off with me following James Altucher's advice to write 10 ideas down every day. So I'd like ordered all these. He recommends ordering food pads, and just going nuts and writing 10 ideas, even if they're terrible, first thing in the morning. And then I started extending it by focusing on a question that I had that, it could have been something that was getting me stumped creatively, or if it was something a bit more emotional, just writing that question down and then answering it straight away, even if it's like a terrible first draft, as Brené would say, even if it's not exactly what you end up believing, it's just you start writing and you continue writing and you come up with some amazing insights that you didn't really realize you had. And there's something about doing that very early in the morning. I've done a lot of work on myself through doing that.
Wonderful. Okay, cool. What about an internet resource? I'm sure you have thousands as well, but if you could just share one or two with our listeners.
One that came to mind was self-control, and it's a lot. It's there are plenty of apps that track and measure your time spent on certain websites and prevent you from doing that. But I just found that self-control, I think it's just called self-control app. It's just really easy to use, and it has definitely made me check my time spent on certain websites like Facebook, and it's kind of trained me not to be distracting myself so much.
Okay, is that a Google Chrome extension or?
Yeah, I think it's just for Macs though.
Okay. Okay. Well, we'll mention that, and maybe I'll find another one for Windows as well. Very good. And we talked a lot already about different books, but do you have another book that you would recommend, or did we already mention it?
Well, obviously, I think no one needs to be told to read Brené's stuff because it's like it's so brilliant. So I'm going to give a little bit of light to Amanda Palmer and The Art of Asking. And she is this singer in a band called the Dresden Dolls and wrote this book called, and she actually does reference Brené's work just to bring her back again. But The Art of Asking was just a really kind of eye-opening book for me, because asking for stuff, I hadn't really even realised how much I struggled with that. And how many, I think it's another thing that introverts struggle with in particular. I've just written a blog post about why my theory is that we struggle so much with it. And I think just the way Amanda puts asking in just a completely different light it's just opened doors for me, and I've definitely been putting myself out there a lot more, and it's really reassuring when you start getting these great responses from people. And just being resilient when you do get the no, I think the more we can practice that, the better.
It's true, and that came up during a conversation with Tara Gentile earlier as well. Asking, for some reason, is more difficult to introverts than extroverts, and I don't know if it has to do with, well, we are definitely more, self-motivated, for example, so we don't have to rely so much on other people for us to thrive, and maybe that goes hand in hand with not wanting to call too much attention to ourselves.
Yes, I think that was part of my theory, as well as the being self-critical. So it's being kind of afraid of this answer, or like, what will that person think of me if, this is an outrageous question or something.
Yeah. And also, why am I so important? And why would they consider spending time on my stuff? Like, yes. For example, if I asked them to, share a blog post or something. So it's like, why would they consider helping me?
Yeah, I better not just even ask.
Exactly. Yes. Okay, so definitely recommend that book. I don't think I've read it myself, so I need to add that to my Kindle list. Wonderful. I always like to end with the mindful ending and ask you what you're grateful for today or this week.
So this is something that just came up to me this morning, and it's being grateful for my parents for always letting me do the kind of ridiculous thing that I wanted to do, as long as they thought it would make me happy. Like, I can't count the amount of times my mum has said to me, as long as it makes you happy, even though I think in her head she was thinking, oh my God, Kat's quitting her job and going to Japan for 3 weeks. Like, what is she thinking? But this kind of emphasis on doing what makes me happy, I just think having that from them has been a huge help. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. And that makes me think of another book, because Susan Cain just came up with a book for young adults.
Yeah.
And I think that's, in terms of parenting, it's very important for parents also to understand when you have introverted kids and maybe in your case, more creative kids. And I actually have the same thing. I have a son, he's 12, and he's just, very creative, very different. He's not big into sports, and that's okay.
Yes.
A boy doesn't have to be into sports. He can be, like, he used to do pottery, and now being 12, he's kind of like, maybe that's a bit pushing it too much. What if my friends find out? But so what?
And he'll appreciate all of these things when he's like, and that's so easy for us to say, like, oh, that's going to be such a great skill then, or you should appreciate how like different and creative you are. But I think to a kid, it's hard to get that across.
Yeah, exactly, because they compare and they see, his friends, well, they're doing basketball and baseball and all of that. So, I think it's important for parents to understand. And the worst thing is that I catch myself sometimes, trying to push him harder to go out, where he's happy just like yesterday, spending the whole day inside.
Yeah.
So, it's a good reminder for parents to really also appreciate introverted kids and let them be how they are. Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for your time, Kat. That was a nice discussion.
You're welcome.
I'll mention all the resources, and I'll definitely see you on the book club. I will join that right away. And I read a lot. So you were mentioning it was once a month. You're maybe going to push that to once every 6 weeks,
depending on reading speed. Like yourself, I read a lot, and what's nice is that a lot of people have these books on their list, and having a book club really kind of gives them the push. At least it gives me the push to actually get it read.
Yeah, and I think what I'm missing, I mean, I don't have a problem reading the books on my list, but it's nice to exchange with other people as well, and kind of say, like we just did during our podcast, basically.
Yeah.
That's what you have on a regular basis.
Yeah, I like to compare it to watching a film. Like it's great to go and watch a film with someone and then discuss it afterwards. There's something added about doing that.
Exactly. Yeah. Very nice. Well, thanks again for being on the show today, and I'll put all the resources and your site, Facebook page, and everything in the show notes.
Thank you.
Thanks,
so
Kat.
much. Thank you. Bye.
You can find Kat on her website at creativeintrovert.com or on Facebook, facebook.com/creativeintro. Next time I will chat to Dr. Michelle Pizer about the art of being bossy. Michelle's my first Australian guest, and I'm really looking forward to our chat. That's it for this episode of the Introvert Biz Growth podcast. Please come and download the 3 Golden Nuggets cheat sheet that Kat shared with us today at sarahsanacroce.com. And if you don't have it yet, get your free 4-step guide on how to say no to grow, which you can also find at sarahsanacroce.com/say no. If you like this episode, please subscribe to this show on iTunes or Stitcher and tell your introverted friends about it. Us introverts are really together. I'll talk to you in 2 weeks. I know it seems long, but time flies and pre-excitement is half the experience. Talk to you soon.